All right, we just heard from Senator Tom Cotton. The desire on behalf of Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine and begin to create this buffer around Russia is not new. But what is new is the political landscape, in part because of America's foreign policy. The question is, what happens if we see Russia making a move on Ukraine and the U.S. fails in its efforts? Could this have implications elsewhere for America's national security? Joining me now to talk about this is the Executive Vice President of the Family Research Council, Lieutenant General Jerry Boykin, who retired after 36 and a half years of military service in the United States Army. His last position, Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, and he was also one of the original members of the Army's Delta Force. General, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much. Glad to be with you, Tony.
All right, we were just talking with Senator Cotton about there's nothing new here about Vladimir Putin's desire. He's been wanting to create this buffer. He's been wanting to make a move on Ukraine, but the stage has changed significantly internationally. In part, we look at the weakness on behalf of the U.S. Biden administration, and we look at Afghanistan. We went through a litany of fumbles on behalf of the Biden administration, even as early as last week, as late as last week, with his comments about a minor incursion. The question I have, General, what are the other dominoes that could fall if the United States does not respond appropriately to Russia and its threat to Ukraine?
Well, the first one that obviously comes to mind is China and Taiwan. And keep in mind that as far as China goes, one of their primary foreign policy objectives is to reattain the island of Taiwan. And they have been set on that since it was Formosa back after World War II. They've been pretty well determined to regain that atoll there. So that is one. Another one, though, could also be the impact on Kim Jong-Un in terms of him becoming even more belligerent if the United States and its allies allow Russia to go in and annex yet another sovereign state, like they did Crimea, which was part of that sovereign state in 2014 when they took it. And then the other one that I would say really scares me because of my passion for Israel is the Iranians. And the Iranians are right now in the middle of talks, which I think will ultimately result in nothing, but they could become more belligerent as well. And they have actually told us that they want to destroy Israel. And they are, they've done a number of things that would indicate that they're developing the capabilities to be able to do that very quickly with a nuclear weapon.
Okay, so let's go back to Russia and Ukraine. The Secretary of State Boykin talking about diplomatic efforts, although this afternoon the administration announcing sending a limited number of troops to Eastern Europe. What do you think it's going to take to basically checkmate Vladimir Putin?
Well, I think that one thing that would checkmate him, which is, as far as I'm concerned, is not an option for the United States, and that is to give him the guarantee that he's looking for, that we, the United States, will stand in the way of the Ukraine ever becoming a part of NATO. That's his big thing. And the truth of the matter is, if you look at it from his perspective, he sees the Ukraine as being a buffer between him and the NATO forces of the Western powers. But that is not an acceptable alternative, I think, to him attacking. And so I think that what the Biden administration has to do is pour lethal material into the Ukrainian military there and make them as lethal as possible. But so that this is not just a walkthrough, because it's not a very long distance to Kiev. So we've got to give them as much legal assistance, lethal assistance as we possibly can. And then we've got to, I think, do some sanctioning. And the first sanction that we need to do is we need to roll back what Biden undid, and that is the Nord Stream pipeline. We need to re-sanction the Nord Stream pipeline. Now, you've already seen that the Germans, because of their dependence upon the Russian oil and the Russian natural gas, you've already seen that the Germans are becoming an impediment to NATO being able to do anything here against the Russians at this very, very critical time. So I think that what we've got to do is we've got to go in for a rollback on that decision by the president and reimpose the sanctions on Nord Stream, and then start working diplomatically with our allies, like the Germans, to get them on board so that we have a unified stand against the Soviet Union, or the Russians, because they're trying to become the Soviet Union again.
Right. General, we don't have time to unpack this, and this is a conversation for another time. Not that we're advocating for the use of our military, but our military in many ways has already been hollowed out by this administration, and a strong military is a great deterrence to something like this. You don't have to use it if you have it.